start. And it's kind of a short today, should be pretty short and productive. So it's 162-393-2579 pound, Joyce. So it shouldn't be. Okay. Oh, I see some audio now. Okay.
Can you guys hear me now?
There we go.
There we go. Sorry. Oh,
That's okay. There is a little bit of feedback, so I think I'm gonna mute.
I'm going to shut off. There we go. How about that?
That's a lot better. Great.
Yeah.
So we'll get started here. I'll share the screen, and then there was a request, and I'll just run through we have a quorum today. And I think we have all of our reps here. So from the County of Lake, we have myself as the stormwater coordinator, Angela. We have Marina Delajanis, and we have Supervisor Crandall is our supervisor representative from Water Super Protection District. Thank you. From Lakeport, we have Bethany Moss as stormwater coordinator, and the elected official, we have Kim Costa, and Brandon Disney is the alternate also here. From City of Clear Lake, we have Kylie Clark as stormwater coordinator, and Joyce Overton, who's also the chair here. And that is our official makeup. So Joyce, if you want to call the meeting to order.
I will do that. I will call the meeting to order for, I don't have let's see, what time is it? At 2:08.
Great, thank you.
And then we're going to, So, okay. So then you want to go ahead and start the meeting here, Angela?
Yeah, I kind of already did attendance just to make sure we had a list, and we have a couple other staff here and a member of the public also.
Okay, great. So, all right. You're bouncing all over the place.
Sorry.
Okay, so we want to go ahead and start with our reports for today. Hang on a minute. I don't have my agenda up here.
We're on item 3 for approval of minutes from February 2023.
Okay. All right. So does everybody get to read the minutes? Does anybody have any objections to the minutes? Okay, then I'll take a motion on the minutes to pass.
I move. Eddie Crandall.
Marina Delajanis, I second.
All right, so motion carries. All right, so we're going on to the consideration of any items not posted to the agenda. Do we need to add anything on the agenda? Nope. Okay, then we will go on to our next. So, okay, we've got that. So old business. So I'm going to take it, and Angela, is this going to be yours?
Mm-hmm. Again, our acronym cheat sheet, especially for some of our new members from Lakeport. Stormwater is a lot of alphabet soup, so we provide this in every single packet. We add to it as needed. If there's anything today that you wanted me to add, let us know, and we'll add that, and it'll be included in the next one, just to because it's a lot of acronyms. So yep, that's the purpose of this. And let me know if you have any questions on that.
I think that's, and I love that list. Thank you very much. That's always helpful. I mean, it's hard to remember all of those acronyms, so I never can. So I appreciate that, you know, that you do have that on the, you know, for us. So, okay, so on to the stormwater. You got the good job team. Very good. Okay, so the so we're signing of the contract on April 25th on 2023 at the Board of Supervisors.
Yep, it's been
Those
signed by
are
both the
easy.
cities. It's been approved by legal, so we're just getting it finished. Last signature is county. So that contract will start basically like May 1st, let's say, around there. But just know that it's gonna be really slow funding, like the contractors are gonna be starting off slow because a lot of the low impact development requirements are gonna be based on the new permit, which hasn't been drafted yet. So there's some stuff that's it's just going to be a little slow. So don't expect a bunch of invoices right away. It's going to be mostly through probably 2024 to 2025 is when we're going to see a lot more of that work. So just so the jurisdictions know to be prepared for that. Part of the contractor's work though is going to be reaching out and talking to each jurisdiction, especially as they're developing those training tools. We didn't want this document to just be sitting on the shelf and not used. We actually want staff to use it, learn it, and use it every day when they're reviewing plans that for more sustainable, low impact developments in the county. And that's all my comments on that.
Great, great. Anybody have any comments on that? I'm glad we're getting this going. So I appreciate your work on that contract. Okay, so on to the stormwater resource plan. And so we have a grant for somewhere around 140,000 ish. So yeah, so okay, that's good. And so right now we're in the contract phase.
At the very
And
beginning,
then-
the water board is taking their sweet time getting an agreement. And there's another item here for the reimbursement agreements. And that's just to, let's see. The contribution here is on the right. It's very minimal. But that's because some parts, the grant, the 319 grant technically cannot be used in urban areas. So it doesn't mean the contractors aren't going to be doing the work and the urban areas aren't going to be included. It's just we had to show that we were putting in some that represents the urban areas. So then the state can then not come back and say, oh, you guys are using this for urban areas and you're not allowed to do that. But we, of course, want the whole county to be included in this. So we want the stormwater resources plan to consider the entire county for how we use stormwater as a resource, whether it's green infrastructure, groundwater recharge, fire mitigation, storage and reuse, capture and reuse, and anything else that using that stormwater as a resource on the land instead of just letting it flow or flood or flow away. So that's why those contributions are there. And that's what the reimbursement agreements are for. Again, it's very minimal amounts, but that's just to show that we're putting in some of that. So some of that work can be justified in those urban areas, like the 2 cities and all of the community growth boundaries around the lake.
And then the scope of work services, is that included in the agreement, I'm assuming?
It's not in the reimbursement agreement. It's coming to, the engineers are putting it together, and that'll be part of the agreement for the grant. So there's like no real big rush to sign the reimbursement agreements. I just want to make sure that all the terms and everything was okay with you guys. So then it's ready to go when we can get those signed and we can include it in the final packet that goes before any boards for that.
So will this be coming back to us with the final packet, or is this something that you want a vote on today?
I wanted the reimbursement agreements as is to be approved for today. Did I put that in there? Oh, if possible, or if there's any changes, let me know if the changes are coming. So that's what I wanted to know is, does anybody have any issues with the changes, or are they okay and can be ready to sign whenever needed?
So is there no comments? Anybody have any questions on it? Okay, then I'll take a motion to accept the reimbursement agreement as presented to us.
So moved, Eddie Crandall.
Do I have a second?
Second, Kim Costa.
Okay, so all in favor? I'm gonna assume, do we need to do roll call on this?
It's up to you as chair. If you want, you don't have to.
I think legally we have to.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, because we're not all together, so I think you have to do roll call.
Okay.
So do you want to do that?
Yeah, I can do that. Joyce,
Yes.
Bethany,
Yes.
Supervisor Crandall,
Aye.
Kylie,
Aye.
Marina,
I'm not gonna live that up, EJ.
and then Kim
Yes.
and myself, Angela, I.
Okay, all right, so motion carries. All right, no abstain, no, okay, all right, so the update on the sustainability. So Scott on here? I don't see everybody.
No, but you have the next best thing. Hi, everyone. Marina Delajanis, Deputy Water Resources Director. I have a brief update regarding our stormwater program sustainability. As shared in previous meetings, we do have allocated funds for a stormwater coordinator position. With previous discussions that Director De Leon had with both of the city managers with Clear Lake and Lakeport, they were leaning towards the direction of onboarding a consultant. So what I'm hoping to do next Clean Water Program meeting is just having more dialogue with the committee, the council and the community regarding of how this position would look like and get more guidance and direction on that so we can move forward with that. And then of course I'll work directly with staff, so Jordan and Angela, to see the specifics of what that position would be working on and working towards. So again, the biggest obstacle is just getting that funding allocated, which we do have allocated. Looking into next fiscal year, we also have those allocations as well. So I don't want to say the hard part was accomplished, but that is a big step. Now we just need to finalize and look specifically into how that position would look like. So I'll work with Angela, but hoping to get that on the agenda for next council meeting. We can have further dialogue about that.
And so when you get that put together, Marina, are you gonna send us out kind of a copy of that so that we can look at it ahead of time?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't move forward with onboarding that position or, moving forward and requesting quotes until we get the input from the council. Since you guys are so pivotal in making sure that position moves forward in the appropriate direction. So I want it to be more of a collaborative effort where we look at that together and develop that together. And then once we're all on the same page, then we can move forward with actually onboarding that position.
Great, well, thank you very much for that update on that. So I'm looking forward to getting that position.
I know
filled.
our staff is too. I see Angela.
I know, you guys have been really great, all the staff. I really appreciate all your work, and I know we've been trying to get this position going. So I hope we can, get this put together sooner than later, and so that it gives you guys some relief, So I know you guys work very hard. I think we all appreciate that.
And that's a big shout out to Angela and Jordan. So
It'll be nice to have somebody that can focus on stormwater 100% and really coordinate with the different jurisdictions and the departments. Every week I get like a grant or funding opportunity that is stormwater related, and we just don't have the capacity to take it on. And so it'll be great to have somebody here that can really focus on that and do that. And that all in itself will make the program sustainable. So it's a little investment up front to have that staffer, but it'll be great to have it. So I'm excited. And thank you everybody for supporting that.
Thank you. Let's just get it done. That's the new saying nowadays. Let's get it done. So, okay, and monitoring, and I'm going to assume that's you, Angela.
Yeah, Jordan and myself, we can talk about this. So monitoring, we had a great wet weather year. We were able to monitor, I think we set 7 events, and I think we did 5 events. Some places had water 5 times, some had water 6 times. So that's exciting to actually get some monitoring. As you know, we have a requirement to do a pyrethroid monitoring, and we actually were able to do that. And one of the tests that's included in that requirement for pyrethroid monitoring from the state is called Hylela azteca. It's this little critter right here. So what they do is we go out and we sample the sediment in the water. You can see us here on the bottom, and we send it to the lab, and they set up those sediments in the water and these little like mesocosms, and then they add these little critters. And if there's pyrethroid in those samples, the critter, you'll see there'll be a certain mortality event. So a certain amount of the critters will die because there's a toxicity in there of the pyrethroid. They're sensitive to that. And then if there's not pyrethroid in there, or it's a low amount, then all the critters are hanging out having fun and not dying. And then they know, oh, you don't have pyrethroid. So that's how that sampling and that test goes. And so great news, there was no toxicity detected. in our samples for our round. We were able to do one sampling where we had between January 1st and March 30th, we had one event where we had water at all the sites that we were able to sample under the parameters of the program, and no toxicity there. And then we also run a sample of 5 different types of pyrethroids, and these are all blends of similar components that are used in mostly household or urban applied pyrethroids. When you go to like the store, on the shelf in the garden section, there's like a product called Home Defense. People spray it around their house to prevent little critters from getting in their house. Those kinds of things are pyrethroid based products. And there's 5 different types that we get tested for. And there was no detections for any of them except one, and that was the bifenthrin. And the amounts here are nanograms per liter, and these are below the trigger levels. In fact, the 0.46 has a high standard error because it's actually kind of right there around the detection limit of the testing. So all that is saying, that's great. We don't have high levels of pyrethroid, and it's not enough to trigger exceedances for this program. That's all based on one sampling we were able to do. We're hoping we get another little rain event here before April, May, before the end of June, and we could do another sampling. And then the next one will be next winter, when we get rain next winter, between October, December, September, October, December, we'll do our should be our last sample event.
Okay.
And it's all written right there in front of me, so I could have just read that off. So just FYI, if anybody have any questions on any of that, and just wanted to let you guys know, because we're all partners, we all pay into this. The jurisdictions expect to see some invoices coming in because that was pretty expensive to get all of that monitored, and we have those reimbursement agreements from before for that testing. And I already communicated with the state on this because they sent an email asking what the results were. And I CC'd all of the stormwater coordinators on that too. So if there's any questions about it, reach out to your jurisdiction stormwater coordinator, Kylie or Bethany, to answer any questions.
Great. Well,
Okay.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
So great. So okay, and then we got the Blue Ribbon committee update on the grants.
Yeah, so
Do we have anything to actually do?
2 Blue Ribbon Committee items. Oh, this one is quick. Last time, Supervisor Sabatier asked about doing an RFQ for this item, and I haven't got to it yet. So I'll bring this up. Hopefully I'll get to it between now and the next meeting. But that was to combine some of these items together in this grant we got to just make it more of an effective so we can get more out of these line items that are pretty hefty in cost to serve the greater purpose of the clean water program. So I'll update you guys in the next meeting for that, and hopefully I'll get to that RFQ.
All right, great. All right, on to item number 6. Okay, so is that going to be you also?
Yeah. Surprise!
You're just going to carry on. You're just going to carry on the meeting, so we'll just let you go ahead and go.
So we've been, Jordan and I have been attending these CASCA, which is the California Stormwater Quality Association subcommittee meetings for training. So one thing about stormwater is there's, we have a lack of training resources, and we thought by participating in these subcommittee meetings, we can help shape some of the resources that come out of this association, and particularly that could be useful for us here. We could also learn from others that have been doing training between the training, and the training subcommittee is targeting training for all the top level. So there's even official training all the way down to the work yard, like those that work in the yards and things like that. So all that whole scope of training materials. There is a request for training input on these things for online module training, what kind of resources and information would be useful for training there. Help with Stormwater 101. So what are some basic things about stormwater that you wish you would have known or had training resources when you started, working in stormwater? And again, there's going to be some for officials. So, we have 3 officially elected representatives on the council. If you guys have any input for you guys starting your, involvement in stormwater. If there's something you want to know about that we can have, or we can communicate to put that into the training for officials, let us know. And then the training then is available for all the state of California and jurisdictions, but it'd be great if we can have direct input in that. So we want to know what you want to know. And then also part of this is CASCA. If you're not involved in it, we do have 5 CASCA sub memberships open. So the County of Lake applies for CASCA, and we have some sub memberships so some people can get access to CASCA and the resources through that membership. And so if anybody's interested in that, let us know too, because we want to be able to maximize those funds or that membership that we pay into. And I think it counts under being the Management Council and the Watershed Protection District, being admin for the council and being able to share resources. So I think that counts. So anybody have information about what they want training, let us know. And then if you want a sub membership information, let me know and I could give you, all I do is write in your email and you'll get an email to open your sub membership account.
Okay. So anybody have any questions on that? So this meeting that you have on the side over here, that's on the 18th, May 18th, is that a training for you guys?
So this is a training for our neighbors to the south in the San Joaquin Valley Stormwater Quality Partnership. So it's their version of their clean water program. And this is a training they do, and they do these trainings like twice a year. Jordan and I have attended them virtually. This one is in person, but this is something that we need to be able, this is a requirement of our permit to do trainings like this, but we want to make sure that we're doing a training that's useful for us regionally, and that we don't, to create a whole training and curriculum is time consuming and it takes a lot of work. So if there's something that CASCA can do for us that we can use or modify, that's the goal of participating in the training subcommittee. But this is an example here on the right of what another group of jurisdictions is doing for their training requirements.
We're trying to set up a meeting like this regional training.
Yeah. Now,
Correct.
anybody here, if you want to attend a training, if any of this on here looks interesting, you can attend. Like I said, we've attended these before. We're not in San Joaquin Valley, but they're rural. There's some disadvantaged communities there. They still have some of the same issues that we have. And so a lot of the things they talk about overlap. And it's way more valuable to go to training like this as opposed to one that's like in Riverside or Sacramento, where they're dealing with different stormwater issues.
Yeah. So we're trying to set up, I just want to be clarified, we're trying to set up this type of training for here.
Yeah, but using the resources that CASCA develops, so we don't have to make it from scratch.
Right.
And if
Okay.
it's developed by CASCA, then it's kind of really a shoe-in to be approved for any water board, or it's going to be considering any permit requirements, because that's the whole role of CASCA, is to make sure people are doing stormwater right, including their permit requirements.
Okay, I like that.
It's like two things, yeah.
So yeah, well, definitely the Stormwater 101, I would say should be the first class on there. So, because that's, I think everything that, even refreshers are always good. So, does anybody have any input on this? Any questions?
Yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
okay,
Go first.
thank you.
Mhm.
All right, thanks. So I just was going to be vulnerable. Thank you, Joyce, for, saying even you would appreciate Stormwater 101, or you recognize many people would. I'd say even just, I would love it if someone just were to shoot me an email with just links to what might be, here's some, intro to stormwater or stormwater for dummies or whatever, just something to sort of orient a newcomer to some of the key issues that will come up again and again as the training becomes a little more in depth. So that'd be great. And I look forward to all of those things that you have listed there.
Yes, I agree. So yeah, I mean, even though, I mean, you can always learn and refresher courses, even if you do know some of it, is always good. Our whole concentrations, we all do other jobs and stuff. And so unfortunately, some of this stuff kind of goes off into the brain and it needs to be brought back in. So that's the reason why I said the 101. I think even I would appreciate that one. So this is kind of a beginner course. And since we do have new people, I think that's kind of the must. I think that's the beginning of our training. And then, does anybody see anything on here that particular you would love to see on our training thing? Then, I guess we could just all email you, right, Angela?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say I really like the Stormwater 101. I think there's resources on Casca that cover some of that already. So what I'm going to do is go explore that and see if there's anything I could take, and that'll be an action item for me. Hey, Kelly, can you make an action item for me to just put together like a Stormwater 101 packet for of Casca stuff and anything else? And that might be something I'll post on our website somewhere. I know we have some stormwater resources on our website already, so I'll get those links too for you guys, and make sure all that's available. And then if you have any questions or you can't get to it, or we need something even more abbreviated, or there's some gaps there that's missing, we can talk about that at one of the next meetings too.
Okay.
That's
All right. So if anybody has anything you'd like to research and put into this training, let's please get that to Angela so that we can kind of get this put together. I like the idea of having in-person, by the way, training.
Yeah. This is
okay.
Bethany from Lakeport. I think that the 101 is super important for everybody that's on the board and obviously a voting member, and that there might be like a criteria that we could come up with where there's 3 or 4 different trainings that we all need to have prior to making decisions, maybe under our belt or at our fingertips, to be able to educate ourselves better, myself included. And so I think Casca is a great resource, and I definitely want to take whatever courses are offered. So I think this is definitely a really good resource.
I agree. Betsy, you're on the line, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I know, you're the one that kind of educated me the most, I'm going to say, and appreciate very much. Do you have any input on this? Because you've been doing this for a long time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As a matter of fact, I had raised my hand, but you can't see that.
Oh, no, I can't.
I was going to say that, yes, it's very important, in my opinion, for everybody to understand the US EPA National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Phase 2 requirements. Why do we have to do this? What are the water quality orders? How is that broken down? And why do we have a regional permit, with 3 co-permittees? What is the position of the Watershed Protection District's responsibilities? Those kinds of things, which are management level concerns. I do want to also add that the Department of Water Resources website contains a lot of great information. I want to thank the department for producing that and making it available, but you can certainly learn about a lot about it from there. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to help you, because I have tons of resources going all the way back to the year 2000 on this.
Yes. Yeah, Bessie can help out a lot. I mean, she definitely has been there through this whole thing with me, and educated me a lot at the very beginning. Spent much of her time training and explaining things to me. And she's a great resource, and I appreciate all that she does for us. So.
Thank you.
Any other input?
There was a comment from Andrew from City of Lakeport. The City of Lakeport website has a stormwater page with Casca info, and he put the link. And then I also put the link. We have a story map in our website, and it goes through more of stormwater management 101. So not only do you know, well, what is stormwater, what contributes to stormwater, but how you manage it. And so that's great. It has a video about keeping California water clean. And it does have an intro to stormwater, and then lists some of the things that have been put in place to help manage stormwater. And it does end up going down to like what's a watershed, and know your flow. So it basically shows you all of the culverts. And I can actually, let me see if I can share my screen here.
I'll just throw in that this is the stuff I really love. Thank you so much, Angela.
This was made by our previous coordinator, Daniela, who now is the environmental director at Habimatal. So this is you guys can see my browser. Yeah, so it shows you the watersheds in the urban areas, and then talks about what stormwater is. There's a video, some of the ways that we protect water quality. We have ordinances, grading ordinances, adopt a road programs, and then talks about the watershed, because that's the ultimate stormwater is water flowing off the landscape. There's some links there, and then how to get rainfall, because that's actually determinant of the runoff. And then the know your flow is the part where I talked to, where it shows you all the culverts, and we can get the culverts for the cities up there. I think we have the city Clear Lake. We don't have Lakeport, but we can input those. But if you zoom in, it shows you like, these are all of the drainage areas and these are all the inflows. So how water can access the drainage system, and you see them all out to the lake. So everything flows out to the lake. That's what stormwater is. And that's what us as the management council is charged with, managing that flow. And then there are some things here about tips and resources and nutrient management. And then the contacts for water complaints. So, and then it talks about Clean Water Management Council and us at the bottom. So yeah, this is a public resource on our website that would be good to go through for a start, that kind of addresses some of that Stormwater 101, and it's geared for the public for like a 9th grade reading level there, I think. So, but if anything is not understandable, not clear, let us know so we can fix it, because that's not the goal of that.
I'd like to add one more comment if I may, Angela.
Sure.
Yeah, and that is that some of the most critical things that have to be dealt with by the County of Lake that are desperately needing help are those ordinances in the municipal code. There are probably a handful of those that are extremely out of date and not in tune with the Watershed Protection District, for example. And those authorities, those are called instruments of authorities. And the grading ordinance, the groundwater management, stormwater, shoreline protection. I can't remember what the other one is, but anyway, those are well worth the understanding who has responsibilities and for what scope of work that they're responsible, and then look at how that fits with what we're doing today, because they were written a long time ago. Thank you.
And we have several grants that have been approved and are waiting for funding. And then one of the grants that we just want to move some funds around that could pay for some of those ordinance updates too. So I think that was it on that item. Was there any other questions or any items that people would like included in training? I took notes. Kelly's taking notes in the minutes. Anything else specific, either that could be included in training locally, but also that we want to, touch bases with CASCA at a state level.
Doesn't sound like anybody has any, but if you do, after you hang up or something and you get some ideas of something, or you go look and you see something that you want in the training, then I would say just email Angela that so that we can get it on. I think we all should make sure that we have the things in the training that we, that we want, to be, we want in there, so that the new people, can get caught up, and that some of us that just need some refresher courses can get that done too. So thank you, Angela, for all that work that you're willing to do. Okay, so if there's no more questions, we'll go on to the review of the trash plan and obligations for the 2023. And who's doing that one?
Yeah, so Jordan and I can both do that. Jordan coordinates the trash work group, but you guys know we have a trash plan that we wrote in 2019. And this was to meet the trash order by the state. And part of the requirements of that is that we do trash surveys every other year. So the idea was that we would survey areas where there'd be high trash impact, rate them on a grade A, B, C, D, and then 2 years later, survey and rate them again, and hopefully see an improvement in trash, because we would have been implementing strategies to improve the conditions based on what we described in the plan. So this year is our every other year. We did 2021 and now we're at 2023. We've had a lot of staff turnover, so we're actually doing training on these surveys. and it'll be April 19th at 2 p.m. in downtown Kelseyville. It's kind of between the two city jurisdictions, and it'll actually be on our surveys that we have to do in Kelseyville. The county has to do like 13 of these, so we're going to do one with everybody in Kelseyville to help us out and knock that one out. But we just wanted to communicate that if anybody's interested in attending, for the jurisdictions, we'll send out an email sooner with the agenda, but you want to bring all these things. So you want to start looking now in your folders for where those were from 2 years ago. Also, there's copies of everything in the plan, which is posted on our website. And basically we go along a stretch that we predetermined and rate it. So if you looked at this, there's a cup, you could pick that up in less than an hour. So that would be like a A or a B for a trash grade for this stretch if you were doing that. There's trash there, but you could pick it up pretty quickly. So that is the read for that. Is there any questions on the trash plan? Has anybody not read the trash plan? That's a stormwater coordinator. If you're doing the surveys, I suggest you read it. It's not very long, the trash plan part, and each jurisdiction has their own section. There's a section for Lake County, a section for Lakeport, and a section for Clear Lake. And then the appendices are all like the survey results and the methods, the state methods. So some of that can be breezed over, abbreviated.
Yeah, Angela, I think when I looked on my Outlook calendar, it put it as May 10th. Is the correct date April 19th?
Let's double check, because that's a big difference. Yep, you are correct. May 10th. Let me change my PowerPoint.
Okay, good. Because I was like, I wanted to go or find somebody that can go, but being next
No.
week, I wasn't sure if that was going to be possible.
That's great. We're hoping to have new staff too. We are hiring, we have grant funds. We're trying to recruit new staff for that. So that'll help. So hopefully, yeah, let's see. There we go. So that'll be May 10th at 2 p.m.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks so much. I've got a lot of stuff going on.
So this
Good
next
thing you're
guy-
good at all this stuff.
Yeah, and this ties into something. There was a question in the chat. Bethany asked about second nature going to be discussed. And Jordan, did you want to talk about this at all?
Yeah, totally. So Second Nature is a software company that is really involved with stormwater and MS4 permits. They're, contract out type of service. And we bought 2 of their modules, a trash compliance module, as well as an illicit discharge module. And these modules will help us with trash tracking. It creates a hotspot map. Like I will give him our MS4 boundaries as well as a few other layers. And then they do this really slick, put everything together into a mapping software. And they're going to train everybody on how to use use the software, and we can download it on like a tablet or something like that. And it's very cool software. I'm not doing it justice by explaining what I said, but it's going to be beneficial.
Yeah, so previously you'd go out with your paper sheet, write everything down, do your surveys, come back in the office, put it in your Excel or whatever, put your information, your GIS, and it's very tedious. It takes a while. But this puts everything all in one. So you just go out, do your survey, and then it produces everything to the standard that's needed for the trash order. So then you have your maps already.
Yeah, compiles into a report, sorry.
Yeah, and then get your reports. And we were able to purchase this through the Blue Ribbon Committee funds. So the grant that we we'll talk about next, I believe, or was the Second Nature on the, well, we got like 2 grants from Blue Ribbon Committee, and the Second Nature was included in them. So, and remember, those grants are to be used for all the jurisdictions. So that's why, at least for this year, 2 years, we'll have access to that survey and software for that.
So Angela, we'll still take our survey sheets, our paper survey sheets in the field, and then bring them back and input it into the software instead of keeping it
Mm.
on Excel? Is that?
No, you'll take like a tablet out or your phone and the software will
Oh,
be on, it'll eliminate paper sheets.
okay,
Yeah, and it'll have the map like up on your phone. You'll know exactly where you are.
okay.
It's
So just for
it's-
this training that we're doing on May 10th, we'll just do the paper sheets, but then eventually we'll transfer over to Second Nature when that's all set up.
We're
exactly.
hoping to do it all in one. We're hoping
would
by
love
then
to.
we'll have it set up and we'll have tablets with the software on it that you can use.
Okay. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
I just, when I wrote the PowerPoint, I didn't have the Second Nature. We hadn't had the presentation from Second Nature yet. So we didn't know
Sure.
if it would be, what would be involved and feasible. So,
Okay.
but ideally we could do it all at one time.
Yesterday, just being on the training, this is Bethany, the software looks fantastic. I think it's going to definitely help with our MS4 reporting in a lot of ways. And I know it'll be a little bit more difficult maybe for the smaller jurisdictions, but I think it's going to be a really useful tool. So I'm very excited. And I think Andrew's on the call too, and he was really impressed with it. And it's just going to streamline our processes, from top to bottom. So looking forward to that. And thank you guys for finding them. I know it takes a lot of time to go through software demos with multiple companies and they seem really on point. So thank you guys.
No problem. A little disclaimer, we have this software for a year. So if it doesn't work, we don't have to keep them. But if it does work, we will be looking for additional funding and maybe we can work with the cities in the future with funding to continue using that software if we like it.
Good. I look forward to seeing the results on that. A little less paperwork is always good. So, anybody else have any comments on that or questions?
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Okay, go ahead, Betsy.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm wondering if there's any recognition of the complaints that come in about stormwater drains and that kind of thing. If there's a component where that can be noted on those maps so that you can follow up on the correction of culverts and things like that. And yeah, that's it. Is there any correlation there for us?
So that's
Yes.
a good point. Oh, you want to add something, Jordan?
I think I had a bad connection for part of your question there. I think you were saying if there were problem areas, is that marked? And then can we go back to locate that? Did I hear that correct?
Well, kind of a follow-up. I hear a lot of people will come to me and say, what's going on with XYZ location in the drainage? We have, unfortunately, homeless people inhabiting the creeks, other kinds of problems. And some of it's just unclean, unmaintained culverts and that sort of thing. I was just wondering if the complaint system inputs were being added to the map so that you could follow up on that for your trash compliance.
So there is, no, I was saying that was a good point. The current trash plan, the way we structured it, doesn't include that. But what I think we should do that. We do track complaints, at least that we get. And I think one of the grants, Jordan, we got actually we're waiting on the RFQ for that, but it does hotspot identification for either illegal discharges and or just problem areas. So I think that would follow under that, being able to get the complaints, add that to hotspots, or see where they overlap with the trash, the trash survey areas.
It's just unofficial information that's not done by the staff, but it might be useful for the program.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the other things that we got grants for, that again, we're hiring staff, is Adopt a Drain program. So we have an Adopt a Road program, which works great when we have, the volunteer participants get their bags, clean their roads, and those areas look great. And we want to kind of do the same thing for Adopt a Drain. And we have the grant funds to do that. We're just looking for staff to help coordinate that program because it's a little more involved than the Adopt a Road. So that might be something where we'd have the priority list of areas, and then we can direct, oh, here's a road that, or here's a drain that needs some attention. That might help too with some of that. But yeah, no, that's a great point, and we can consider that for the trash plan mapping.
And as far as I understand that software, it's going to help with that hotspot tracking. I mean, we can use the survey any time of the year. It doesn't have to be during trash tracking every other year events. This is like anytime there's a dump site or an illicit discharge that we go to, we use the survey. And then, if it will track the fact that we've been to the same spot 3 times in 1 year, then that's going to become a hot spot. So that software, to my understanding, will help us track those hot spots. I don't think it's open to the public necessarily, but if the public complains about a spot, we're going to go to that spot anyways, and we're going to use that software. So it will be tracked in that sense.
Yeah. That's great.
Okay. Oh, I like that. I like the idea that you can track places that are going, and I think that we might find that this will be very useful to several different departments in the long run. So,
Yeah, I was just thinking of that, like coordinating with the public works, because I know
Exactly.
some spots are like right by roads and they're blocked. And so
The plan is to have the gentlemen and women on street sweepers be able to have access to this software. And like everybody can have access to this once we learn how to do it and understand it. And yeah, roads department, I mean, it's going to help. It's going to be very cool.
sounds great. I think it's going to be a good thing if it works the way it sounds like it's going to. So looking forward to hearing how that's all works out. So, and I'm like I've said with Supervisor Crandall, I think this will be something that yes, other departments will definitely be able to use and help us out on our reports. So, and cleaning up our places so it doesn't get into our water. So great job, guys. Love it. All right. Any other questions on this? Okay, then let's move on to the stormwater and the hitch discussion. How are our hitches doing?
There's a lot of hitch this year. There's a lot of water. And I just wanted to make a placeholder. I don't have any formal discussion leads, but I did just want to, if you think stormwater gets out a pass from hitch, you're wrong. It's all connected, and a lot of the areas, especially the urban areas where stormwater flows, is also hitch habitats, and hitch use those sites. This fish here, he is swimming upstream. He's not dead. He's just swimming against the flow coming out of this culvert at Adobe Creek. So lots of stormwater is in that system, and there's like thousands of spawning fish there. We did a visit at Burns Valley Creek. There's a little bit of flow, lots of other wildlife, no hitch yet. And then Forbes Creek in Lakeport, if you saw, they just got a bunch of hitch. They posted it and we went out and checked, and there's probably a good 1,000 in there that we could see. We didn't do the whole entire reach, that are swimming around, looking happy and actively spawning. So all of these areas get stormwater runoff, and contribute, to the hitch habitat. And this is part of that stormwater 101, is that anything that flows off the land into these creeks, whether they're urban or not, this is where the hitch are. Their babies are going to be born here. They're going to go out to the lake. So if we're looking at hitch, and we're concerned about hitch, which we are because the county just passed an emergency proclamation and we know the numbers are in decline, one of the ways that we can really help this species out is by improving stormwater infrastructure and investing in stormwater, because it has a direct link. And then if you guys, I didn't put the photos on here, but the photos on the agenda, there's 2 more sites. These are actually stormwater ditches along Mount Canocti, where there was lots of confused hitch showing around during one of those storm events. Luckily, the next day they got a bunch of rain and they should have been able to swim out. But there was some wildlife predation, since if they're trapped in a little area, it's easier for wildlife to go in there and grab them. But it was a stormwater ditch. It had definitely trash in there, and you could see runoff from the road, and some weird coloration. And they were swimming around there like they think they're in the little creek. So Jordan, did you have anything to add?
Yes, I did. I was just just before this call, I was at Clover Creek at our MS4 site at Upper Lake, and there are hitch there. And it was just kind of one of those perfect, like, this is exactly where we sample for stormwater. And right below are about 100 hitch. So, just adding to what Angela said.
Yeah, so I just want to create this space if there's any discussions or questions, or we just want to talk about it. And we'll probably bring this up again because we do have an emergency proclamation for the hitch. And there's a lot of efforts right now focused on the hitch, but stormwater is one that's not being addressed except for us, except here at this council.
Great. Good to see that. Good to see that they're spawning. Hopefully it will continue on and we get a little bit more rain. So, okay. Any more discussion on that? Okay, let's move on to some action items now. So we got the Blue Ribbon Committee grant. So the request to prepare a task reimbursement agreement for cities to complete the spill response and clean up the events. So are you taking this on, Angela, also?
I think Jordan and I, we brought this up last
Okay.
meeting and provided some rough numbers and asked the jurisdictions to go back and see what they would need for some cleanup events. And so that's what this slide is. Jordan, do you want to take anything else? That changed.
I can just reiterate that, that $10,000 can be given for staff labor, and that would basically cover, if you have volunteer cleanup events, you guys get paid to be there that weekend. We obviously get a better turnout on weekends for volunteer cleanup events. So that's nice to have. And then 5,000 for supplies, whether it be, trash grabbers or even like hazmat supplies, if you need boom or absorbent pads, safety supplies, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And then I think also the staff labor and supplies can be used if you have spill response. So if there's any discharges, right? Is that right, Jordan?
Yeah, so it would be
Cleanup
any
events,
kind of
okay.
illicit discharge issues. I mean, I'm typically dealing with oil or gasoline. Any kind of human material is not our department. But yeah, that money can be used for that as well.
All right, great.
May I-
Looking forward to it.
May I ask
Do
a
we have,
question?
go ahead.
Thank you. My understanding is that the Environmental Health Department responds to hazardous spills like this. Is that incorrect thinking, or?
So if an illicit discharge, like a gasoline or oil or similar materials, is discharged within our MS4 boundary and in a waterway, that would be our Water Resources Department. If it is, or trash, I mean, that is an illicit discharge, dumping in a waterway. That photo right there, that's up there, that's something that we would take care of. The grant that we have also helps us contract out for that material if it's too big, or let's say it's a huge oil spill that just we can't take care of. The grant will help us take care of that. As far as environmental health goes, they typically take care of any kind of human waste, sewage spills, that kind of stuff. And their jurisdiction is kind of everywhere else. I know code enforcement has a little hand in this, as well as I think what Public Works. So, and then the cities have their boundaries that they take care of.
We also can use this outside of MS4 boundaries.
Yes, the
Blue
grant
Ribbon Committee didn't specify only for MS4, but
yeah,
as part of the Clean Water Program, the grant was for purpose of Clean Water Program in all of the jurisdictions. So that's, you guys are just in the cities if you're in the city boundary, but with the county, we use it across the whole county if it's a waterway or can go into a waterway.
This is Bethany from Lakeport. So at first in our last meeting, I was like, oh, that seems like too much money. But then after talking to staff, in particular with Public Works in regards to our spill response cleanup costs, they're a lot higher than I had first anticipated, and I was on a part of two different responses, which costs us a lot of money. And then going into looking, into the details of the grants in regards to what the county's asking for in regards to street sweeper cameras and wildlife cameras, like those are all things that we would like to do. And so for the city of Lakeport, instead of the 15,000, we have plenty of other uses for the funds. And so for me and for the city, we would request, if it's possible, for 40,000. And that would be, not only for the cameras, but to replace and repair our one street sweeper. And if that's not possible, to use those costs to potentially purchase a new street sweeper. But there's a lot of things that we haven't been charging back for necessarily, or if we are, we're not receiving the funds in regards to our responses and efforts. And so Lakeport would like 40,000 if that's possible.
So I think we can definitely work on the amounts. I don't think there's anything in the grant we could do for street sweeper stuff. And then Jordan, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we put this grant together, I did come before the Clean Water Management Council and ask, what are the needs? And we never got any direction. But that would have been something we could have put in there. I don't know if we can change it for street sweeper stuff. But I know that if there's the cameras definitely, and maybe some repairs, but not for the purchase of a street sweeper.
I'm not sure that anything related to a street sweeper, I don't think I can have I don't think I have any wiggle room to justify that within this. I think that,
right.
I do think that it's possible to give more money for other equipment like the wildlife cameras or
and
that kind of stuff.
Like allocated for 3 street sweeper cameras, so that would be something that we would be interested in to also do. That was outlined in that grant.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we don't have 3 street sweepers, so those.
Yeah, we don't.
So
I'm not sure which street sweepers are the lucky draw on those cameras just yet.
Okay.
But I think that I think there's intention to do maybe one for each city. There's 3 cameras. I don't know. I can talk about that with Angela. I haven't looked at that particular section with great detail.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure if when Danielle set it up, it was like the one street sweeper needs 3 in order to capture trash, but I think that's overkill. And I don't even think, because
hopefully not.
Does that data go into second nature, or does somebody have to sit there and look at it all?
So it's AI technology, and that is also a question. I think that it's supposed to be reviewed. It's not supposed to be reviewed by a person exactly, because you program the cameras and the camera is able to detect, oh, that's a water bottle. Oh, that's a plastic bag. It's supposed to be smart. And
maybe we can give that to Lakeport to try that out before we try it on our 13 areas that are street swept.
Yeah,
we would love to be the guinea pigs, that's for sure.
That would be great.
And then we even just with the smallest spill that we had over, it was off of for Armstrong, that was almost $3,000 response to something that was only a couple gallons, and we don't receive that money in recovery. And so
when was that spill?
Andrew's on the call. He would know. He's so good with the exact dates. And so environmental health was out there too, and hazmat.
I was thinking if it was in the grant period, we can reimburse probably some of that right now.
Yeah.
Really?
I think so.
Andrew, do you want to chime in on that? Oh, it's January 2023, 2020, or it's 222 South Brush.
Yep.
In between Forbes and Armstrong. And so that's just one example.
Bethany, it sounds like you're definitely way more interested in like spill response things than perhaps like a trash cleanup events type of stuff, and that's fine, but I just want to make sure I have that right. Is that?
No, it would be more of a combo.
Okay,
So let's work, that's what the work group meetings are for
Yeah.
also, so there's a lot of
Let's do that.
detail. So, but we have a date set for those meetings, so that's something, it seems like definitely we could, you guys, there's some wiggle room and there's a use of funds, and there might be some things that you guys have accrued already that can be covered by the grant, but that's definitely a work group topic for illicit discharge and trash, which I think are within the same 2-hour block on the single day. So as long as you attend that, Bethany, with Andrew and any other staff that can provide information, I think that would be a good time to work that out. And then moving what, like, we figure out what funds can be used in the grants and which
Sounds good.
can't. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
no, absolutely. And we definitely would be looking at more than the 15,000 for the trash in particular. And so if we can work through that, that would be fantastic.
And was there any questions from Clear Lake? Kylie, did you guys have a chance to look over those numbers? Is there any specific needs or?
Yeah, we don't have, well, you know, I just with your information and Jordan's information that you gave me, I think we're really we are interested in street sweepers too, or paying to, right? We don't have a street sweeper. We pay the landfill to street sweep, and we only have funds that they just do Olympic Drive and Lakeshore Drive right now. So we were just hoping to get funds for that respect. And I haven't had the time to try to figure out like how much it will cost us to do it just a single trash cleanup. So I haven't really been able to crunch those numbers to see if we would be able to get more in that regard. But so I think that we would probably just stick with the $15,000 for now.
Okay, the other thing is you can reach out to the Citizens Caring for Clear Lake and see if that's something a lift that they could help you with. If you say, hey, I have funds, what can you guys do with this much money as far as events? And that might help them do volunteer coordination and stuff. And that's the same thing. It would be going, through the city or through the Citizens Caring for Clear Lake, but all of that can be facilitated too. And that would be a way to help you out, since if you're not have time, maybe to.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Because they've done a
Angela.
lot of events before. They do a great job. They have a big volunteer network. Sometimes they just might need supplies like picker-uppers, vests, and that might be what this could pay for too, to help with that.
Okay, great. I will do that.
And then I would also attend the work group and ask any questions for Jordan, or see what else can be covered in the grant.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
And then Betsy, do you have a question?
I do. And I just want clarification. My understanding is that each of the co-permittees has their own responsibility for municipal good housekeeping, which is the area in which street sweeping falls, not to, you know what I mean? It's a separate issue. Is that correct or not?
Yeah, street sweeping is part of Muni. There's actually a Casca code for that, and then maintenance of the street sweeper. And then actually part of the trash plan that we have distinguishes areas where stuff is a street sweeper goes and a street sweeper doesn't. And that kind of impacts to the survey. So like you can't do a valid survey if you survey the day after a street sweeper goes by your area. But there is requirements in the grant or in the permit for those operations, Muni good housekeeping, street sweeping, things like that. Yeah. But this grant, there's no stipulations in this grant for not being able to support requirements for MS4 permit. It's just, we didn't write a specific line item that would apply to street sweepers because we didn't know it needed to be there. I don't know if that answered your question.
That answer your question, Betsy?
I'm more confused than ever, but I'll talk to Angela later.
Okay, all right. So,
Thank you.
so how much is this grant? Can I ask Angela altogether?
Jordan would know that.
Yes. The trash
Jordan.
grant, trash grant is 369,000 roughly. And then the illicit discharge grant, which is a planning grant, that one is 337,000 roughly.
And so this 10,000 for labor, 5,000 for supplies was just a
Just a random
basic
number I
number.
picked out I didn't have
Okay.
any direction from anybody. on what
Okay.
they
We
wanted to
looked
Sorry
do.
at the
about that.
grants and kind of just figured that that was possibly doable for this year and then possibly an additional funding in the following year. So we'll have to relook at some things. That I think that when Angela and I first came up with those numbers, that's what we were thinking. This would be
So-
year one funding.
So on the 22nd, we have our Clear Lake cleanup days. Is this something that's reimbursable through this program?
Absolutely.
Yes, it is, but I definitely need people to talk to me about it because there is still limited funds and I'm hosting I'm about to host our second cleanup event in June. So talk to me about it and let's get it paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And make sure before the event that everything's in place to track everything correctly. So stuff can be submitted and be reimbursed through the right way. But you can't do any of that until we have a reimbursement agreement, right? Kind of for that. So
Right.
that's what this and maybe we don't have an amount yet for those reimbursement agreements. Maybe we just have like a limit, like, oh, we'll do a reimbursement agreement for 3 events through at the city limits that can be reimbursed through this grant or something. So that's part of this item here is to prepare a task reimbursement agreement. So if you guys do work on an event and you submit stuff, then we can reimburse you and that's captured. And then that is provided with the grant reimbursement. So the grant administrators have that backup documentation.
Okay. So you need a motion to basically to start preparing the reimbursement agreement for the cities. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is an action item. Yes, we do need that. And then if we can solidify the amounts, usually reimbursement agreements have amount limit or some other way to metric what that agreement will be for. So, which it seems like this, we could also ask to table this and have it figured out in the work group meeting for the trash and illicit discharge. That's another thing the council can do.
Okay. So you said we could table this and
Table it
have
or
you guys
have it
work
moved
it
to the work group. So say that
Okay.
this is one of the tasks for the work group, the trash illicit discharge work group to work out the reimbursement agreement details. And then that can be either brought back to the next meeting or the work group can figure it out and approve it and go to the jurisdiction since the amounts aren't a super lot, at least right now. I think you
No,
can.
I still think it would need to come back to this
Okay.
for
Yeah.
approval. I mean, I think that sounds good to me. How about anybody have any opinions on that? Does that sound like something that we should go table to the group and let them come up with a plan?
I think that sounds like a good idea too.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So then we're gonna go ahead and send that to the committee then, and let them bring it back to us at the next meeting, do you think, or what?
Yeah. Do you have to make a action or motion for that, or we just say we're directing that to the work group and bring
I
it
think
back?
I think we're okay with just directing it to the work group and tabling it until the next meeting. So,
Okay. That sounds good. Jordan, are you okay with that as the coordinator for that?
Sounds great.
Okay.
mhm. Right. Okay, then, all right, so we'll have that back on the next month's agenda.
Yeah, Kelly, you got that? Or maybe it's recorded for her.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, all right. Thank you guys for working on that. And okay, so our next one is 8, our work group meeting schedules and updates.
So we didn't have any work groups last quarter, so we don't have any updates, but we do have a bunch scheduled this quarter. So we do have first Tuesday every month now will be the outreach, education, public participation one. And then, that should say May 2nd, Kylie's have the Muni Good Housekeeping. And then illicit discharge trash will be May 9th from 10 to 11, 11 to 12. So that's where those details of the reimbursements and the grants could be worked out. And then Bethany, whenever you guys have a date, we would need to know that for the PCON. And then TMDL, we actually got news from the water board that the time schedule order for that is getting pushed back and going to a water board meeting, and that'll be in October. So nothing's going to change or move on that until then. So we don't need a work group, at least until then. Any questions, comments? There was a comment in the chat for Andrew said the state's new sewer discharge order, which adds new language regarding sewer spills that could impact MS4. And that might require increased coordination between water resources, county special districts. Even though I know that special districts has sewer infrastructure within the city of Clear Lake also. Is that true for Lakeport, or you guys have your own? Are you guys on your own sewer, city sewer system? I'm just trying to figure out if it's worth, if we should have it in a management council meeting, have special districts come on and talk about that at the next meeting. You guys have your own sewer in MS4. Okay. Or we should put it to work group, and I wonder what work group it would go. Probably pollution prevention, good housekeeping. So I'll reach out to special districts and see what they think about that. But there, yeah, I definitely agree. There should be some coordination between special districts, and maybe it'll be at the management council meeting with special districts and maybe the Lakeport sewer folks, or it'll be during a muni work group meeting just to talk about that and anything that's needed for both parties, if that makes sense with everybody.
Yeah.
Andrew, Andrew says thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody have any comments on any of that? Their meetings or anything? All right. So, okay. So number 9, the next CWP meeting dates. So Thursday, July 13th via Zoom at 2 p.m.
Yep.
Everybody got that?
Should it be sooner for the grant funding approvals?
We can always have a interim meeting if we have an item that needs to be approved. So at the work group, your guys' work group on May 9th, if you guys come up with the reimbursement agreement and you're ready for the council to approve, we can then host we can have a meeting just for that item. But these at least were the meeting dates for the year, for the quarterly meetings that were approved at the beginning of the year, but we can always add another one. Marina, did you have a comment?
Yeah,
Just have a special meeting.
A special meeting, yeah.
I have a comment on possibly the next meeting discussing Assembly Bill 2449. That's just Brown Act compliance as it relates to teleconferencing. I know that it's come up during the Board of Supervisors meetings, other committee meetings as well as it relates to county committees. So it's something that we definitely need to discuss since it's a.
And that was Assembly Bill 2449?
Yep, yeah.
Okay. I was just gonna put it off until somebody said something, because.
Well, sorry, I'm that person. And I'm more than happy, Angela, I'm more than happy to facilitate that discussion.
Great. Okay, Kelly, we'll make an action item for next meeting. Marina will lead that. AB 2449 for compliance with the Brown Act. Probably talking about moving meetings either in person or having in-person support for public attendance and things like that. I think that's what we talk about.
Yeah, because I do believe that the you cannot have the majority of the board not in person anymore. So I think we're going to have to go to in-person meetings. So
Madam
just
Chair.
a little update. So I do believe that the July 13th will most likely be an in-person meeting, and so instead of a via Zoom meeting.
Well, I think we're discussing it, right, Marina? That's what you were proposing, was having that item be on June or July 13th to discuss that and make a decision.
Yeah,
how that's gonna work.
Since our committee or our council technically hasn't had that discussion. Now, what we could do, there is still plenty of time in advance, but basically just a summary of that is if we do meet in, what we're gonna have to do is we can still have teleconference hybrid option, but the majority of the council has to be in one shared location and that has to be open to the public. So we could coordinate for that and we can definitely plan that. And I know on behalf of Lake County, we can host that meeting. And we do have the ability to do a hybrid option, but the majority of the council will need to be in the same room.
May I comment on that, please?
Go ahead, Betsy.
Thank you. I think you'll find that there are only two excuses for any official who is an elected official to be absent from an in-person meeting. Otherwise, all elected officials must be present in the room. There are many, many pieces of legislation coming out to, first of all, to correct some of the errors in AB 2449, and also to add options for disabled persons, and recognize greenhouse gas emission reductions and all the advantages of using the online format. But I would like to say that, frankly, my dear, this is an incredibly important piece. Even though I'm the only person from the public who attends this meeting, many, many of us attend meetings that are relative to this, using that option, especially disabled people who are unable to drive. And it's critical, I think, for the public education and outreach and public involvement and participation component of the permit. Thank you.
I don't think that that we can't do the Zoom meetings. It's just the board cannot, the majority of the board. But like you said, we have discussed this, and there are only a few reasons why you can do Zoom and not be at the meeting. So I'll let you guys do that research, but I think you might find that July 13th may have to be in actual person meeting. So I don't know if we can wait on that, but I'll send you over the information that I have and let you, we can make that decision. So, so we got 13th and November 9th. So please put those on your calendars so that we do have them down. So, and then we're to public comment. And since Betsy, I believe, is the only public comment person we have, is there anything else you'd like to say, Betsy?
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't get in there quickly enough to add something. Let's see, that was, oh golly. I can't remember, but I do want to say that for the support of the PEO PIP requirements on the water quality order, that Angela Dow devotes much of her time on her own time on Sunday afternoons to give our radio listeners a report on all of the activities of the conditions of the water issues, including the Clean Water Program on KPFZ. And it's a well-received report. I get a lot of people thanking us for this information, and she does a beautiful job. It's a joy to behold. I love doing the work with her, and really appreciate what you do, Angela. And but I think you should recognize that that's a contribution to your PEOP PIP compliance component. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Betsy. I appreciate it. I love doing those shows also and talking to the public and learning new things. That's great. So thank you. And I will make sure to include that in. You're right. The last report that we did, I did include those dates that we had radio shows. So it is getting acknowledged in our work group reports for the smarts upload, at least.
And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's the last Sunday of the month, 2 p.m. on KPFZ 88.1 FM.
Thank you, Betsy. And we appreciate that you do that also. I think that between the two of you, I don't know if there's anything you don't actually know. So always tell people if you have questions, these two are the ones that you would want to definitely ask them to. So not that I don't appreciate everybody's input, I really do. I think this is a hard job. It's I don't know how you keep up with the acronyms myself. I cannot. So that's why I wanted the sheet, because I can't keep up with all of that. So I do appreciate that you guys spend your time doing everything that you do beyond your job. And I can't wait to get some staff in there for you guys to hopefully give you a little reprieve. But we don't want you going anywhere. So,
Thank
okay,
you.
is there anything else anybody would like to say? Okay, then
Just
I
thank you for
believe
this.
that, what was that?
Thank you for doing this. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you for this whole group. This has really been almost 20 years in the making, and this is the best I've ever seen on this program. Thank you.
Yes,
Yay.
I have to
Thank
agree. It really is the best. you know, that we've had. Most people weren't too interested in it, but I think as I always tell everybody, it takes 20 years to get people on board with things, and I think this is really coming to light, and you know, and people are carrying and starting to. I think people are learning as the education gets out there. I hear quite often where I didn't know, you know, I didn't know that if I blew my weeds into the ditch that it was going to go down into the lake, and that the oil that I had on my driveway is going down there too, because you know, you don't think about that as just a normal everyday person. So you know, so it is good to get the education out, because we are teaching our people and they are getting better. So I think it's just like I said, though it takes 20 years to just get things started. So I do appreciate all the work that everybody does on this, and all our cities and county people. I thank you guys for all your hard work. So if there's nothing else, anybody has any other questions or any other statements?
I just want to thank the county as well. You know, from the city of Lakeport, coming in new, not knowing much, that they've really facilitated my knowledge and what I'm required to do, and seeing, you know, with Andrew, and he's well aware and versed in it. But I just want to thank the county, and of course City of Clear Lake and Kylie for being really good partners. And I just look forward to all the good things that we're going to be able to accomplish with our same common goals. And so thank you guys, and I look forward to the next meeting. And if we have a special meeting, that's fantastic too. But yeah, we have the same goal, and that's really refreshing, because not a lot of committees have the same goal, but I feel like we're on the same page. And so thank you guys so much.
Thank you, and welcome to our meeting. So, well, what I do like about it is that we're working as a team, and I have to say, in Lake County, that was not what was happening, you know, 18 years ago when on city council. That it didn't exist, you know, and so, you know, working to try to get everybody to realize that we all benefit when we work together. I think has really, with this group here, has come forth, and I'm very proud of our people. You guys have all done a wonderful job, and I'm happy with our committee and our boards. I think you guys all do a great job. It's tedious, and it's not the most fun, but you guys do a great job on doing that. And I appreciate that everybody shows up to the meeting. So I think in person, that's always hard. I know that is, and that's where I always worry about, but it's going to have to happen. So, but if there's no more, anybody else has comments?
On
Okay, if
behalf of
there's
City
no
of Clear Lake, I would just like to say ditto to all of that. Thank you, guys.
Okay, great. All right, guys. So, you know, put it on your schedule for July 13th, and be prepared that it may be an in-person one, because I am going to check into this, and I'll let you guys know. So, all right, then I'll call this meeting adjourned at 3:28. You guys all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week and the weekend. It looks like it's going to be fairly nice.
You
Thank you,
too.
Joyce.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you next
Thank
time.
you.
Bye.